Hello and welcome to another edition of Client for Life. Today I wanted to talk to you about grocery shopping. The biggest challenge for most of my clients is to keep their expenses down. I have so many clients that come in and say, oh, we spend about $400 a week on food. And what I do is I look at the 30 to 60 day pattern. So like, for example, yesterday clients came in and we actually did all of February and all of March, every single thing they spent. And to their surprise, this woman said, I spent $300 a week on food. She actually spent $158 a week on food. It's quite interesting when you actually break it down and what your patterns are. So I wanted to give you an overview on how to get the best out of your grocery shopping. What I've observed over the years is the clients that get their grocery bills down to an all-time low do four key things. Firstly, they look at what they can buy in bulk. So things like air freshener, cleaning products, dishwashing machine tablets, all of those core things that we can't do without. People tend to join Costco and buy those. How often? About 3 times a year. I joined Costco a couple of years ago. I go at least 2 to 3 times a year. I love it. So I get all of those products in my shopping trolley. Then I take advantage of buying bulk some of my vegetables, meat, and in particular fish. And I raid those frozen food areas. Like I love their dumplings and the sea bass and all of that. So I stock up while I'm there. So I do that 2 to 3 times a year. And I usually do it on a Saturday after I finish work. So I have a little bit of a routine there. My brother sometimes calls me and I'll say, look, grab my maple syrup for me because I love maple syrup, and you cannot get it anywhere as cheap as you can get it at Costco. So you tend to create your core things that you like from certain places. Then I do a weekly shop at Aldi. I find my grocery bill is down by at least 25 to 33% shopping at Aldi. Now some of my clients say, Lynn, I hate shopping at Aldi. I hate the pressure at the checkout. Don't worry about it. What I do when I go there is I get my trolley. So I buy my tab, I put it in, I grab my trolley, and I stack up all my cold foods, my vegetables, any delicate products. Obviously the tin stuff I try and put underneath everything. And then when I actually get to the checkout, I group my food so it comes off, the cold stuff comes off, the fruit and veggie comes off, and the delicates end up on top. Look, I do feel a bit of pressure sometimes at the checkout. I don't let it bother me. I've got my bags organised. It's ideal if obviously you can take 2 people, but I have cut, I've got a joke, I can eat my body weight in pate. My pate is $3 a container cheaper at Aldi. I love cheese and I love expensive cheese. My cheese is up to $4 a packet cheaper at Aldi. I noticed the other day milk's $1.99 for 2 litres. You can get 2 litres for $2 at Coles. But these are the things you learn by actually comparing. And I'm a pretty predictable eater. I love salmon at least once or twice a week. I love eye fillet. I love a stew. I love a curry. So when I'm doing my curries, I buy cheap cuts. So you can buy a tray at Aldi for $6.99. And we can get 2 curries out of that. You buy a chicken, if you buy a full organic chicken at Aldi, I think it costs around about $12, you can take 2 breasts off to have that meal. You can roast your chicken, you can have it for sandwiches. If it's summer, you can use the chicken cold in salad. So I try to get at least 2 meals out of a chicken, and you won't believe what I do then. I then make my stock. I love freshly made stock, and all I do, I'm so lazy about it, I just throw the carcass in, I throw a whole onion in, I throw a whole this, a whole that, fill it up with water, put the lid on and walk away. I just let it simmer away for half an hour, and I've learnt that is fantastic. And if you're worried about containers, don't bother too much. You can use butter containers, cream containers. Instead of throwing your cheap containers in the bin, recycle them and use them to freeze your chicken stock and things like that. So in using those sort of economies of scale, and when I buy meat at Aldi, for example, or Costco, I buy at least the slab. And I come home and I get my Glad wrap out and I take my 2 steaks and I wrap them up. If I've got I spend a lot of time getting my meat and I stack it all into my freezer so it all fits. And I'm in the habit now that when I'm cleaning my teeth to walk out the door of a morning, I think to myself, what are we having for dinner tonight? I look at my diary. If I've got a meeting, I'll organise something for Paul. If not, I just pull out a a meal, put it in the fridge, or if I know it needs all day, I'll pop it on the sink. So I do use my freezer a lot. I do buy large trays of salmon, large trays of meat, and large trays of the smaller cuts that I recycle and use for different things. So I find by using Costco as my core, Aldi as my weekly, and then we top up shop at the other more convenient locations. And look, there is a bit of a myth. Some people think if they go and do their big shop and fill their trolley up once a fortnight, they're saving money. Sometimes that's not actually the case. In fact, I would say it isn't, because then you run the risk of spoiling food and throwing it in the bin. So if you get home and you feel like lamb chops and perhaps your supplies are low, by all means, pop down the road and buy lamb chops. The most important thing is if you buy lamb chops and you don't use them and they spoil and you throw them in the bin, then you're really behind the eight ball. So you also need to learn the rhythms of your own family. But I love to have a couple of meals in the freezer. Some nights I get home, I'm so tired and I'm so hungry, I cannot wait for a meal. And then I run the risk, of course, of breaking out the pate and the biscuits, and well, then you've ruined your meal completely, haven't you? So by a little bit of planning on how you shop, and by a little bit of planning about using your freezer, you will find that your food bill will plummet. You can also use some of the food vouchers for petrol. And look, I hear a lot of criticisms about it, but I watch them every day. I drive past at least 3 or 4 petrol stations on the way to work every day. And if you save your toilet paper purchases and your milk purchases, so when I fill up, I buy milk for home, I buy milk for the office, and if I'm heading off for the weekend, I buy milk for the weekend, and then top it up with some toilet paper, and I've got my 10 cents discount. So there's other things that you can look for. Obviously, you don't want to overpay for anything that you're buying in a convenience store that you couldn't have bought in the supermarket. And finally, your dog food. Everyone's very particular, or your pet food. Everyone's very particular about how they feed their pet. But if you join a membership program and you're on their email, as soon as I get the discount email come out, I pop on my way home and I buy my dog food in bulk. So they're things to look out for as well. I really hope it's been of help to you. Just remember, $50 a week saving on your groceries is another $2,500 a year you can spend on a holiday. I'll leave you with that thought. Thank you for listening.